Hi, gang. Bob Boving here for the Mystery Project. And tonight, another Peggy Delaney story by James W. Nichol. Peggy's friend Bernie is more than usually paranoid, this time with good reason. He is the center of an investigation into the death of his father. That's like waving a red flag at Peggy. Following a classic tradition, the play is called In the Shadows. Kyra Harper stars.
Hello there. You've reached Peggy Delaney, Toronto Tribune. If you have something confidential you want to pass on, just leave your name and number. The walls have ears. I'll get back to you. If you're calling to give me fulsome, unqualified praise for my columns, feel free now. If you're calling to scream at me, fascist, socialist, cop hater, cop lover, pro-lesbian, anti-lesbian, or anything else that strikes your fancy, go for it. After all, this is a quasi-democracy.
Hi.
Hi.
Got your message about your dad. So, what's wrong?
Besides the fact that he's dead, you mean?
Well, it was a nice funeral. Did I tell you that?
How would I know? Everything's been a blur for the last 10 days.
Uh-huh. Well, Amber and Carlos and I thought the service, everything was very moving.
Good. I'm being investigated.
For what?
You didn't tell me.
Who didn't tell you?
This cop.
You're being investigated by the police?
I just said that.
Why? Bernie? Because of how your father died, you mean? I thought that was all cleared up. He took an overdose of pain pills, didn't he? I mean, he was in the terminal stages of his cancer. It was everywhere, and he took matters into his own hands.
Uh-huh. Well, that's what I thought. That's what the coroner said. But now, it seems some questions come up about assisted suicide.
Really?
This cop...
He was saying...
He wasn't saying anything. He was asking very carefully about what happened that afternoon. Every little detail. And he left.
The coroner didn't say anything about assisted suicide, did he?
No.
Then who gave the police that idea?
I don't know.
Bernie, you told me you were with your dad when he died, right?
Uh-huh.
Who else was there?
Just Wilma Thorpe. I hired a nurse's aide when Dad came out of the hospital and went back to his house. I couldn't be there all the time. She was terrific with him.
How about Adele? Or Aunt Tessie? Or David?
No. Dot was phoning me from Savannah every day. You know how she gets.
Yeah, hysterical.
David was dropping in a lot to see his grandfather. He's a good kid, that way. But he wasn't there that afternoon. Adele, she never visited Dad much anyway, in the hospital or at home.
Why?
Well, Dot was the special one in our family, the oldest one. Adele and I were more or less in the shadows, as far as Dad was concerned. Dot was a cheerleader. She was even prom queen one year, and she fussed over him all the time. Dad just thought I was different. How different, he didn't really know until I came back from Vancouver very much out of the closet. And Adele, the baby, she was just born quiet. And the older she got, the quieter she got. I used to walk her to school. Everything scared her.
I remember.
Dad scared her. He was habitually sarcastic. It was just his way, but not a great parental strategy with someone like Adele.
And your Aunt Tessie? She wasn't there when your dad died?
No.
Is Dot still here?
Yeah. She's at a hotel, waiting for the estate to be settled. She didn't want to put anybody out.
Uh-huh. Bernie, I'll try to find out what's going on. If you want me to.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
Hi. Putting on their winter coats?
In a manner of speaking, wrapping them in burlap. Poor shrubs. They get a ton of salt splashed on them. There.
I'm Peggy. Are you Wilma Thorpe?
That's right.
I'm a friend of Bernie Snyderman's. I understand you nursed his father.
Yes.
Well, some questions have come up around the circumstances of Mr. Snyderman's death.
From whom?
From the police. Of course, you know Mr. Snyderman took his own life.
I'm not discussing a client's file with just anyone who happens to show up.
Of course not. Bernie's waiting for your call. He'll give you permission to speak to me. He's asked for my help.
Come into the house.
So, are you going to call Bernie?
No.
Why not?
Sit down, please.
Thanks.
There's no point in calling Mr. Snyderman. Because I can't tell you anything anyway. Not with the police investigating. What if there's an inquest? I'll certainly be called to testify. How would it look if I gave out information now? To the person. Or his agent. Who's the subject of the investigation?
Meaning Bernie?
Yes. What I should have done was tell the coroner everything that was concerning me at the time, right or wrong, or just kept my thoughts to myself. But I didn't want to say something that might turn out not to be correct, and that would cause Mr. Snyderman problems. At the same time, I couldn't just not say anything. I think it's only fair that I acknowledge this much to Mr. Snyderman. I'm sure that I'm the cause of these further questions concerning his father's death. I regret that. But I saw it as my duty to say something.
But if you weren't certain about it, and you didn't tell the coroner, who would you tell? Did you say something to a member of his family?
I can't say anything more.
All right. Wilma, obviously I wasn't there that day. Bernie's told me his version of what happened. It would be really helpful to us, just to know how much of his version you agree with. You don't have to add anything or correct anything. Could you please just help us out this much?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Bernie's dad had been home from the hospital for about a week. You were looking after him during the day, and Bernie was staying with him at night. You had a dentist appointment that afternoon, so Bernie came over from work to sit with his dad. When you returned, his dad had slipped into a coma, and Bernie was trying to wake him up. He was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Bernie went with him, but he died on the way. You were making up the bed and found an empty pill bottle that had fallen between the mattress and the sideboard. You called that information into the hospital, and later the coroner confirmed that while Bernie was taking a nap upstairs, his father had taken an overdose of morphine. Right?
Right.
Bernie said that his father had taken about 30 pills.
26. He had a 5-day prescription. 12 pills a day, 60 pills in all. There were 26 left.
And where were they kept?
In the kitchen.
So his dad got up when Bernie was sleeping, went into the kitchen, got the rest of the morphine tablets, and downed them all. Well, that's straightforward.
As far as it goes.
You know, Wilma, Bernie is the most gentle, kind man. He doesn't even like to see me shoe my cat. He loved his father.
I know you did.
If I were to guess, I'd say that you mentioned your concerns about Bernie to Dot, the eldest child in the family. Am I right?
I think we're finished now.
Okay.
Well, Peggy! Oh, Peggy!
Hello, Dot.
This is a surprise! Come in. How wonderful to see you again.
Well, thank you.
I was remarking to Aunt Tessie how nice you looked at the funeral the other day.
Really?
With your new man. He's a big one, isn't he? Well, don't let him run to fat now.
I won't. Oh, Hi, Adele.
Hi, Peggy.
You're not staying here, too, are you?
No. I asked her to, actually. Didn't I, Addie? Get out of Parkdale for a change. Can you imagine living over a store in Parkdale?
I'm not over a store, Dot. It's a restaurant.
Worse.
I like Parkdale.
Oh, yes. And one day you'll be found in some alley somewhere with multiple stab wounds. I worry about you.
Well, don't. I've got to go now.
I hope I haven't upset you too much, Addie.
Nice to see you, Peggy.
Good to see you.
Bye, Dot.
She's so distant.
Well, Bernie said she was always the quiet one.
Yes, well, that may be. But I do remember Daddy saying once that it's the quiet ones you have to look out for.
I wonder what he meant by that.
Sometimes I wonder, too. I'd already left home by the time Addie was growing up. I just don't know her at all. And I think there should be this bond between us. I'm her big sister.
Yeah, well, Dot, the reason I dropped around to see you, I want to compare notes.
Notes?
Mm-hmm. I was talking to Wilma Thorpe today. You know, your dad's home nurse. And she told me something that was, it was quite a shock.
Oh?
She told me all about her suspicions about Bernie around your father's death.
She did? Oh, God. She told me, too. She said she didn't want to inflict any more pain on the family. But I was the strongest one, and she had to say something. I just nearly died.
Me too.
I don't know what to do.
No, me neither.
It's just so terrible.
We should compare notes, just to make sure we have everything straight. So, what did she say to you?
She said, when she came back to the house, Bernie was sitting on the edge of Daddy's bed, trying to give him a glass of water.
Right.
He told her he was trying to give Daddy his pills, but he wouldn't wake up. But it was after 5 o'clock, and Daddy's pills were supposed to be given to him at 4. Well, you know how punctual Bernie is. And he didn't have any pills in his hand anyway.
That's exactly what she told me, too.
Not only that, there were loads of pills in that bottle. Daddy's hands were so shaky, he was too weak. It wasn't possible for him to take all those pills by himself and not drop at least 1 or 2. After she found the empty pill bottle, she looked all around, but she couldn't find one solitary pill in that bed.
So, naturally, she was suspicious.
Yes.
What have you done with this information, Dot? Have you told anyone?
No. I've just worried myself sick about it. But I haven't told a soul. Except I told Adele just now. And David is my only child and the only grandchild, so I told him. And of course, Aunt Tessie.
Aunt Tessie?
Why didn't you tell me that Wilma found you sitting beside your dad, trying to wake him up for his 4 o'clock pills at 5 o'clock?
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I didn't think it mattered. Why?
Why?
I looked in on him at 4 o'clock. I said, Dad, time for your pills. But he was asleep, peaceful, snoring away. He'd had such a bad night the night before, I decided to give him a little longer. I went upstairs to my old bedroom, stretched out, fell asleep. I didn't wake up until 5. I hurried back downstairs. I got the 2 pills Wilma had left out and a glass of water. I couldn't wake him. And that's when she came back in from the dentist.
Bernie, Wilma says she didn't see any pills in your hand. If your dad was already in a coma, why wouldn't you still have the pills?
I did, but as soon as she came in, the first thing I said was, I can't wake up my dad. I can't wake him up. She went right to him, started examining him. She certainly wasn't looking at my hands. And then I ran out into the kitchen to call an ambulance.
So what happened to them?
The pills. I guess I stuck them in my pocket. I didn't even realize it until that night. I was getting undressed, taking the change out of my pockets, and there they were.
What did you do with them?
Oh, what good were they? It was all over. Dad was gone.
Bernie, what did you do with them?
I threw them out.
The old neighborhood. I haven't been back here for a long while.
No?
Did you like growing up in Cabbagetown?
It was all right. How about you?
Well, my best friend lived on this street.
Yeah, mine too.
If only we could turn time back, say, to 1970. We'd see your mom again, and your dad, and Dot.
Sashaying up and down the street.
And you.
Hiding behind a tree, waiting for the tough kids to go by.
And Adele.
Being my lookout. Adele and I always stuck together.
Yeah. So, how did Adele and your dad get along?
Okay. When she was young. Later on, when I'd taken off to Vancouver with you, if you remember.
How could I forget?
I think Adele and Dad had some problem.
Did they?
Yeah. Adele got into trouble. You know, boy trouble.
Oh?
When she was 17. She called me up in Vancouver one night. She was pregnant. What should she do? Should she have an abortion? Her boyfriend was claiming it wasn't his kid. She was crying. I couldn't help much from there. I didn't know what to tell her, you know, about what to do. But Mom was great, as usual. So I went to a clinic and looked after things.
Poor Adele. Bernie, are you ready?
For what?
To knock on doors, remember?
Yeah.
If your dad was too weak to ingest all those pills by himself, then someone must have come into the house between 4 and 5 that day while you were asleep upstairs. So we're going to canvass the neighbors to see if anyone saw a person coming or going. Right?
You know what?
What?
This has to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh.
Do you like it?
Well, yeah, it's... wow.
Better than this old puke green, huh?
What's this new color called again?
Frosty Peach.
Right.
And Carlos is going to put up a mirror for me with makeup lights all around it.
Really?
It'll make the room look bigger, for one thing. I know it's small, because it's just off the kitchen. And it doesn't have a shower, just a tub, but it's all mine.
Yes, it is.
So where have you been?
With Bernie. Some questions come up around how Bernie's dad managed to ingest 26 pills all by himself.
What?
Somebody might have helped him.
You're kidding. That's awful. Isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Bernie and I were talking to his dad's neighbors. We found this one guy who says he was cleaning up his yard that afternoon. He remembers a bluebird cab pulling up. A woman got out and went into Bernie's dad's house.
What woman?
That's the question. A half hour later, he noticed her coming back out again and hurrying away down the street. Oh, that could be Carlos. I'll get it. Hello?
Hi.
Did you find anything out?
Yes, I did. I had to flash my police ID, though, to get the Bluebird Cab Co-op to show me their trip sheets. You owe me one.
Okay. So, what did you find out?
Well, they picked up a passenger at 3:55 p.m. that afternoon and dropped her off at 68 Tulane Street at 4:15.
Bernie's dad's place.
That's the address you gave me.
Uh-huh. So, that all fits. Did you find out where they picked her up?
Yeah, 1421 Queen Street West.
That's quite a long ways out.
Uh-huh. Let's see, about...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What?
That's right in the middle of Parkdale.
Hi, Adele.
Bernie. Gee, it must be visiting day for the Snyderman family.
Yeah.
Hi, Peggy. Again.
Hi, Adele.
Well, come in. Don't look at anything, though. I'm a bit of a mess.
Oh, that's okay.
I haven't done anything for a few days. But just sit here and watch TV. Well, since Daddy's funeral. Well, since before Daddy's funeral, really. Well, sit down if you can find a clear spot.
But, you've been going to work.
No. I got leave.
Oh.
Because of Daddy. And then, well, I got sick, and they're very understanding there. Librarians are the most understanding people in the world, I think.
Uh-huh.
Adele, why were you visiting Dot earlier today?
Well, she called me. She wanted to tell me something. And then I went over to that store David works in on Yonge Street to see him. And then I went up to see Aunt Tessie.
Aunt Tessie?
Because I had to ask her too, Bernie. If she'd spoken to anyone about what Dot said. About you. You and Daddy. And those pills. Why you're here, isn't it?
Yes.
Thought so. Bernie, I wanted to make sure that story stayed in the family. You wouldn't do anything like that.
No.
No, of course you wouldn't. So I asked Aunt Tessie if she kept it to herself.
And?
And she said it wasn't possible to keep it to herself. So she'd phoned the police.
I knew it.
She said that you had betrayed all the family. That everybody wanted their last moments with Daddy, to kiss him one last time. And by your selfishness in doing what Daddy wanted you to do that day, you'd robbed everybody of their special connection to him. You made a decision you had no right to make.
Adele, you know who she was really talking about, don't you?
Yes. I came home and I made a phone call to the police. They'll be here soon. I wouldn't let anyone hurt you, Bernie.
Adele, please tell me what happened.
What happened? I expected the nurse to be there. That's what happened. But she wasn't. Just Daddy. I'd come, just for a visit, really. He hadn't spoken to me in 20 years, Bernie. He disapproved of me.
He disapproved of everybody.
I mean, after what happened to me, when I was 17 and you were in Vancouver.
Right.
He never spoke to me much after that. Well, he did once. That as far as he was concerned, I had died. Maybe I had. I was just sitting there beside his bed. I think I maybe wanted to talk to him about all those old hurts, before he went away. But of course I couldn't find the words. So I just sat there. And he pulled this pill bottle out from under his sheets. And he had this glass full of water. And he started to swallow them, one by one.
Adele.
I just watched. He said, I'm in so much pain. So tired, Adele.
help me. And then he smiled, like he hadn't smiled at me in so many years. I love you, Adele, he said. And the water was spilling, and he was beginning to drop pills. And I don't know why. Bernie, I don't know why. But I started to help him. I helped him until he had swallowed every one of those pills. And I don't know if at that moment I loved him or I hated him.
Adele. Oh, I'm here, Adele. I'm here.
Just like in the old days, eh? Bernie and Adele.
Yeah.
You have just heard In the Shadows, the latest episode of Peggy Delaney by James W. Nichol. In the cast today, Kyra Harper was Peggy, Katerina Scarsone was Amber, John Stalker was Bernie, George Buza was Detective Carlos Szabo. With them were Sharon Forrester as Wilma Thorpe, Deborah Grover as Dot, and Anna Louise Richardson as Adele. The music was composed and conducted by Milan Kimlicka and performed by Ray Parker, Kevin McKenzie, Rick Whitelaw, and Scott Alexander. The recording engineer was Wayne Richards, with sound effects by Matt Wilcott. The associate producer was Colleen Woods. Production and direction were by Bill Howell, the executive producer of the Mystery Project. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening.